Om Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Sri Guru Samhita, the legend of the Supreme Guru, original in Marathi as Sri Guru Charitra by Sri Gangadhara Saraswati, composition in Sanskrit by His Holiness Sri 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 Vasudevananda Saraswati, also known as Tembe Maharaj. This translation into English is provided by Dr. Narasimhaswamy Banavara. Chapter 36. Description of Good Conduct. Salutations to Lord Ganapati. Salutations to Lord Dattatreya. 1. The disciple Namadharaka held on firmly to the feet of Guru Siddha and saluted him. He folded his hands and humbly said with profound devotion. 2. Namadharaka said, O Guru Siddha, praises be to you. You help people cross this difficult ocean of life. You possess divine knowledge. You are a great scholar. You are like the radiant sun which destroys the intense darkness of ignorance. 3. I was sleeping soundly in the ignorance replete with passion and obsession. You are awakening me with a divine trumpeting sound, which is the holy Guru Charitra. 4. You are indeed the brilliant sun who dispels the darkness of ignorance. I have obtained you as my respected Guru. O chaste one, O Guru Siddha, I have crossed the ocean and have reached the other shore. 5. Thus the humble Namadharaka praised Guru Siddha. Hearing these words, Guru Siddha was pleased and he blessed and assured Namadharaka. 6. Then Namadharaka asked, O Lord, what happened next in the story? Please describe to me in detail. Please give me the nectar of the holy Guru Charitra to drink. 7. Even though I have been drinking this divine nectar, my mind is still not appeased. Therefore, please continue with the story in detail. Saying this, he held on to the feet of Guru Siddha and saluted him. 8. Guru Siddha began to narrate the divine legend. He said, O Namadharaka, whoever listens to this story with a firm and steadfast mind shall attain superior knowledge. 9. The greatness and immense faith of the Supreme Guru spread all over Gandharvanagara. I will not tell you everything completely, but will tell you only the essential things. 10. If I start to describe each and every incident, then this story will become extremely lengthy. Who is competent enough to describe the legend of the Supreme Guru, who is verily the incarnation of the Supreme Lord Vishnu? 11. There was an orthodox Brahmin in Gandharvanagara. He was learnt in all the Vedas and the Shastras. Though he was detached and dispassionate, he was an expert in performing the requisite actions and rituals in daily life. 12. He would never accept any gifts from anyone in charity. He would never go to someone else's home in time for lunch and eat there. He never spoke a lie. He was a very quiet man. He would not get into unnecessary debates with other scholars. 13. He was happily living his life as a mendicant and subsisting on the alms that he begged from Brahmins' homes. But his wife did not like this way of life. She was a very angry lady. 14. The Brahmin lived his life in a righteous manner. He would never have his lunch without feeding a guest. He followed the procedure of dharma. He had immense respect in the procedure of serving his guests. 15. In Gandharvanagara, one or another grand feast would be held for the Brahmins every day. Thousands of Brahmins would come to this feast every day and enjoy delicious food at the banquets. 16. Eating excellent food at these feasts every day, the Brahmins had grown plump and satisfied. They had also grown rich by receiving copious amounts of dakshina every day. Each person would eat to his heart's content and praise the host of the banquets all over the city. 17. These praises fell upon the ears of the Brahmin's wife. Hearing those praises, she felt miserable and sorrowful. She lamented, Alas, I do not have that fortune. Filled with worry, she turned to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. 18. She said, O Lord Vishnu, I do not have the fortune to see that kind of excellent food even in my dreams. What is my fate? I got married to a poor Brahmin, and I have had to suffer numerable distress. 19. I got a miserable and poor husband as a result of my karma from my previous lives. O Lord, I do not see poverty ever leaving us as long as I am associated with this man. 20. All the Brahmins of this town are eating excellent and delicious meals every day along with their wives. That is the result of their previous merits. That is why they are all happy and contented. 21. My husband is so unfortunate. Even though he gets invited to these feasts, he does not go. I, however, like that food. O Lord Vishnu, what shall I do? 22. Thus the Brahmin lady was steeped in worry. One day a wealthy Brahmin came into town. He made a sankalpa, that is Solomon vowed, to hold a grand feast for all the Brahmins of the town. 23. He invited the poor Brahmin to come to the feast. He also invited the Brahmin's wife to come to lunch along with her husband. 24. She was thrilled at the prospect. She happily said to her husband, O Lord, O beloved, the rich Brahmin has invited me along with you to go to the feast. 25. O Lord, they will prepare different kinds of delicious dishes there. They will also donate copious amounts of dakshina to us. In addition, they will donate expensive clothes and other gifts. 26. Please accept the invitation. If you don't want to go, at least give me permission to go there. I have this burning desire to go to the feast. I wish to partake of that delicious and unique food. 27. Hearing her pitiful words, her husband indifferently said to her, You may go and eat to your heart's content if you wish so. I shall never come there. 28. Then the foolish lady went to the wealthy Brahmin and said, O Lord, my husband refuses to come to the feast. Therefore, I shall come by myself. 29. Then the wealthy Brahmin said, O good lady, I have made a sankalpa to worship couples only. I shall worship each couple in turn and then invite them to sit for lunch. You may come to my house only if your husband agrees to come with you. 30. Hearing the wealthy Brahmin's words, the poor Brahmin's wife began to sweat. She thought, Alas, O God, my fate is indeed against me. This is true. What shall I do? 31. How immense is my misfortune. What shall I do? Because of this husband of mine, I have been deprived of this excellent feast. I can never see such delicious food even in my dreams. 32. Alas, my miserable fate. Thinking thus and unable to miss the delicious meal, she came to the Supreme Guru Sri Narasimhaswamy Saraswati. She prostrated herself before the Supreme Guru and saluted him. She humbly said the following. 33. She said, O Lord, please have mercy on me. I shall never be able to eat such excellent food ever again. Please advise my husband to go to the wealthy Brahmin's home for lunch. 34. The wealthy Brahmin has made a sankalpa to worship only couples. My husband is refusing to go to that man's house for lunch. What shall I do? He does not want to eat food at other people's home. 35. O Lord, I have this intense desire to go to that feast. Please have mercy on me and advise my husband to go to that lunch. The invitation is most appropriate. The wealthy Brahmin will donate good food as well as expensive clothes. 36. Hearing her words, the Supreme Guru smiled. He sent for that lady's husband. When he arrived, the Supreme Guru said to him, O good man, the wealthy Brahmin has invited you to lunch. 37. O Brahmin, go to his home for lunch. Your wife will be pleased by eating the delicious food. Your wife has this intense desire of going to the feast and eating the excellent food. 38. A husband should always fulfill his wife's desires. He should not let a woman from a good family grieve like this. 39. Hearing the words of the Supreme Guru, the poor Brahmin saluted the Supreme Guru and said, O Lord, I have made a sankalpa never to eat food at other people's homes. 40. But I also know that whoever does not follow the Supreme Guru's command will have to suffer in the fiercest of hells. Therefore, O Lord, I shall obey your command and go to the other Brahmin's house for lunch. 41. Saying thus, he went with his wife to the wealthy Brahmin's house for lunch. His wife was filled with joy. Both of them went to lunch. 42. The wealthy Brahmin performed a sankalpa to worship the couple, performed the requisite worships, and began to serve them and the other couple with different kinds of delicious dishes. 43. The feast began, but that day the Brahmin lady only saw inauspicious events happening in the rows of people seated for lunch. In every row, dogs and pigs were licking and eating off the banana leaves of the different couples seated there. 44. Her sorrow was insurmountable. Immediately she stopped eating and got up from her spot in disgust. She loudly announced what she saw, so that everyone present there and eating could hear her. 45. She came over to where her husband was sitting and shouted, Why are you eating that disgusting food? This is the leftover food from the dogs and pigs. Get up from your seat now. 46. Then the Brahmin addressed his wife, Because of you, my rituals have been destroyed today. This is my misfortune. I had given up eating food at other people's homes, but today you made me eat the leftovers from dogs and pigs. 47. Saying this, he angrily got up from there and went to the Supreme Guru along with his wife. O Namadharaka, with immense devotion he saluted the Supreme Guru and narrated everything to him. 48. The Supreme Guru saw the Brahmin's wife and said to her, O lady, did you witness the happiness of eating someone else's food with your own eyes? You have been pestering your husband again and again to do this. Has your desire been fulfilled today? 49. Hearing the Supreme Guru's words, she fell down at his feet and saluted him. Folding her hands together, she said in a pitiful voice, O Lord, please forgive my blunder. 50. I am a foolish woman. Out of greed, I pushed my husband into committing a sin. I am the sinful woman who forcefully dragged him to eat someone else's food. Please forgive my mistake. 51. The Brahmin was extremely worried. He said, O Lord, what should I do now? I have incurred a deadly sin. My ritual has been destroyed. 52. I had made a sankalpa, that is Solomon vow, that I would never eat food at someone else's home. That ritual was destroyed today. My wife, who was constantly opposing everything I did, motivated me to commit a deadly sin today. 53. Hearing the Brahmin's words that he was uttering in despair, the Supreme Guru smiled and said, O good man, your wife's desire has been fulfilled. She felt contented today. 54. She has now decided that she will never crave for food at someone else's house. This is the truth. Do not despair. You have not incurred any sin. 55. I shall tell you one more thing. Listen. This is a natural dharma. Do you know why? Listen to my words. Sometimes a Brahmin cannot be found for the worship of the gods or for the worship of one's ancestors at the death ceremony. 56. At that time, if someone invites you in order to not miss the ritual, you must go to that person's house, complete the ceremonies, and then eat lunch at that person's house. Instead, if you are stubborn and refuse to perform the ceremonies because you may have to eat there, then that is a grave sin. 57. Hearing the Supreme Guru's words, the Brahmin prostrated himself before the Supreme Guru. He stood politely before the Supreme Guru and humbly asked him the following. 58. The Brahmin asked, O Supreme Guru, whose food can we then accept? Where do we incur sins by eating someone else's food? Whose homes should we never go? O Lord, please tell me all of this in detail. 59. Guru Siddha said, hearing the Brahmin's words, the Supreme Guru began to narrate everything in detail. I shall tell you the same. Om Namadharaka, pay attention and listen. 60. The Supreme Guru said, O Brahmin, listen. First I shall tell you at whose homes you can eat food. Listen, you may eat at your disciples' homes. You may definitely eat food at your Guru's home. 61. You may eat food at the homes of Orthodox Brahmins, your maternal uncle, your father-in-law, a saint, and your brothers. 62. If people do not find a Brahmin for worship of the gods or their ancestors and invite you in order to not miss the ritual, you can eat at the person's home in that situation. But you have to perform penitence if you eat there. The chanting of the divine Gayatri mantra is the only penitence possible. Then you shall not incur any sins. Avoiding eating food at other people's homes. 63. One should not eat food at the homes of those people who make their parents serve them and people who are filled with greed. 64. One should not eat food at the homes of those people who perform religious activities while mistreating and or starving their wives and children. One incurs sins by eating at the homes of such people. 65. One should avoid eating at the homes of scholars who are extremely arrogant and proud. One should also avoid eating at the homes of wrestlers and musicians. 66. One should avoid eating at the homes of people who have been ostracized from society, people who subsist on begging alms from other people, and people who do not perform the Vasudevananda ceremony at their homes. 67. One should avoid eating at those homes where a lot of people gather together and cook the same food. One should avoid eating at those homes where the Vasudevananda ceremony is not performed separately. Eating at the homes of these people will bring about sins. 68. One should avoid eating at the homes of people who consider himself a guru for several people and who gather several disciples and instruct them out of greed for money. 69. One should avoid eating food at the home of an extremely angry Brahmin, a person who hates Brahmins, and a person who has abandoned his chaste wife. 70. One should avoid eating food at the homes of people with tamas guna. misers, bad-natured people, unrighteous people, and people who are arrogant as a result of their wealth. 71. One should avoid eating at the home of a Brahmin lady who has abandoned her husband and children. 72. One should avoid eating at the home of a Brahmin who works as a jeweler. One should also avoid eating at the home of an evil beggar and a person who subsists on the money of a woman. 73. One should not eat at the home of a thief, an adulterer, a Brahmin who sells horses, and a teacher who teaches for money. 74. One should not eat at the home of a gambler, a person who speaks harshly, a person who eats food without bathing first, and a person who does not chant the name of the Supreme Lord. 75. One should not eat at the home of a person who does not perform his ritual oblations 3 times a day. One should also not eat at the homes of people who do not perform any righteous, religious, or charitable work, and a person who does not perform the Shraddha, that is, death ceremonies of his ancestors. 76. One should not eat food at the home of a person who chants mantras for money, a person who chants mantras for show, and a person who lives his life as a money lender and makes large amounts of interest of other people. 77. One should not eat food at the home of a traitor, a person who commits partiality, a person of low morals, and a person who has abandoned his dharma. 78. One should not eat food at the home of a person who hates scholars and saints, a person who criticizes his guru, and a person who does not worship his family deity. 79. One should not eat food at the home of a person who has killed Brahmins and cows, a person who has murdered a woman, and a person who hates the food in his house but praises the food in someone else's house. 80. One should not eat food at the home of a person who stays in someone's house out of self-indulgence, and a person who stops another person from donating food to needy people. 81. A person who goes to the homes of people of all classes and castes and eats their food shall be reborn as a Chandala, an outcast man. One should avoid eating food at the home of a person who eats at everybody's home. 82. One should not eat food at the home of a person who angrily chides and criticizes his daughter and son-in-law. One should also not eat food at the home of childless person. 83. One should not eat food at the home of a person who does not follow the householder rituals after getting married. One should also not eat at the home of a householder who eats at the other people's homes. 84. One should avoid eating food at the home of a person who does not follow the dharma of his ashrama, that is stages of life, but only preaches the philosophy without any real experience. 85. One who eats at the home of a person who earns money by wrong and evil means and subsists on that money will become blind and deaf. His memory powers and courage shall be weak, and finally his lifespan will be reduced as well. 86. If a person remains every day at the home of another person and eats his food, then all his merits will be transferred to his host, and all the sins of his host will be transferred to him. 87. The sins that one incurs by eating food at other people's home and having sexual relationship with someone else's wife are greater than the sins that one incurs by accepting donation of cows, land, gold, elephants, horses, and gems. 88. If one always stays at someone else's house, then his fortune will cease. If one eats at someone else's house on a new moon day, then he shall lose all his merits that he had incurred for 1 month to his host. 89. One may go to someone else's house for lunch if he has an invitation. One should never go to someone else's home without an invitation, even in times of emergency. A Brahmin should never go to Shudra's home for lunch, even if the Shudra man invites him. 90. A father should never eat at his married daughter's home until she begets a son. After she delivers a son, the father may eat at her home. Then he will not incur any sins. 91. One should not accept any donation during the solar and the lunar eclipse or at a pilgrimage site. One should not accept any donation at any home where there has been a recent death or birth. 92. One should not accept any donation from a cruel king, a servant, a washerman, a blacksmith, a carpenter, a gold thief, a Shudra woman, and a drunkard. 93. If a Brahmin follows his dharma and observes his rituals and duties faithfully, then how can he ever become miserable? Such people are always happy and contented. 94. Even the gods will be pleased with them and will come under their control. The divine Kamadhenu, the all-wish fulfilling celestial cow, will always be in their homes. So will the 8 Siddhis. 95. Brahmins who become blind with arrogance and pride and stray from their path of dharma and the prescribed codes of conduct shall become sinners. They shall burn in the fire of poverty and ultimately be destroyed. Prescribed codes of conduct. 96. Hearing the words of the Supreme Guru, the poor Brahmin said, O Lord, please listen to my request. I want to know what my prescribed code of conduct is. Please tell me. 97. You are the incarnation of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. You have immense compassion towards your devotees. O Lord, you are the sole support for all your devotees. Please advise me on my prescribed code of conduct. 98. The Supreme Guru said to the Brahmin, O Brahmin, you have asked me an excellent question. I shall tell you the prescribed code of good conduct in detail. The great sages have advised these codes of conduct previously. I shall tell you about those codes now. 99. Once upon a time, when many sages were performing penance and other austerities in the Naimisharanya, a great forest, Maharshi Parashara accidentally came there one day to meet the sages. 100. As soon as the ascetics and sages saw Maharshi Parashara, they felt that the life forces that had left their bodies had returned. They immediately got up and encountered the great and aged sage. They invited him, worshipped him, and saluted him with great devotion and respect. Then they humbly and respectfully asked him to advise them about the codes of good conduct and of dharma. 101. They said, O Lord, we are filled with doubt, and at each step of the way, when we practice our codes of conduct and dharma, you are a Brahmarshi, a divine sage. You are famous all over the world. Your advice is very much required here. 102. One should not learn any Vedic mantra or self-prescribed any codes of behavior without a guru. Therefore, the guru is very holy and respected. Please advise us on the codes of good conduct. 103. Thus all the sages and ascetics requested Maharshi Parashara, who said, O sages, I shall tell you about dharma and the prescribed codes of conduct, as a result of which one can obtain all the siddhis, that is powers. 104. Every day a Brahmin must wake up in the Brahmi Muhurta and must contemplate on his Guru with deep devotion. Then he must contemplate on Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, complete with the respective qualities. Note, a Muhurta is a slice of time equal to 48 minutes. The Brahmi Muhurta is the second Muhurta before sunrise and is considered to be the most divine of all slices of time. 105. He should mentally contemplate it on the Navagrahas, that is 9 planets. He should then remember Sanat Kumara, Sanaka, Sanandana and Sanat Sujata, the mentally born sons of Lord Brahma. Note, the 9 planets according to Hindu mythology are Surya, that is sun, Chandra, that is moon, Mangala or Angaraka, that is Mars, Buddha, that is Mercury, Guru, that is Jupiter, Shukra, that is Venus, Shani, that is Saturn, Rahu, the ascending node of the moon, and Ketu, the descending node of the moon. 106. He should then contemplate on and salute the divine sage Narada, the Siddhas, Yogis, the Pitru gods, and the 7 oceans, the 7 upper worlds, the 7 islands, the 7 Maharshis and cows. Note, the 7 oceans according to Hindu mythology are Lavana, that is salty, Ikshu, that is sugary, Sura, that is nectary, Grita, that is made of ghee, Dadi, that is made of curds, Kshira, that is milky, and Jala, that is watery. The 7 islands according to Hindu mythology are Jambu, Plaksha, Shalmali, Kusha, Krauncha, Pushkara, and Shaka. Occasions to perform Achamana. 107. Then the Brahmin must get up from his bed, perform Achamana, answer the calls of nature, wash his feet and hands, and perform Achamana again according to procedure. Note, Achamana involves a ritual drink of water accompanied by chanting of mantras. The Achamana is always performed twice. 108. A Brahmin must sit down on the ground and perform Achamana before his bath, after drinking water or any other drink, before going to sleep and after waking up. 109. A Brahmin must also perform Achamana before eating food, after finishing his meals, after sneezing, after yawning, and after answering the calls of nature. 110. A Brahmin must perform Achamana after passing gas, when he hears an evil or cruel sound, and when he sees an evil or disgusting sight. A Brahmin must also perform Achamana before and after every ritual he performs. 111. If he does not find pure water nearby for the Achamana, then the Brahmin must touch his right ear. It is stated that 7 gods reside in a person's right ear. Therefore, if he touches his right ear, that becomes equivalent to an achamana. 112. The 7 gods residing in a person's right ear are Agni, the god of fire; Apaha, the god of water; Indra, the king of gods; Varuna, the god of the oceans; Arka, the sun god; Indu, the moon god; and Vayu, the god of winds. The procedure for toiletry. 113. After urinating in the early morning, the Brahmin should wash one's hands and feet. Then he should perform a mental bath and cleanse himself. He should then meditate until sunrise. 114. He should not recite the divine Gayatri mantra. He may recite the other Veda mantra with a clear mind. After sunrise, he should go outside the city for excretion purposes. 115. When he goes for these purposes, he should tie his upavita, that is sacred thread, around his right ear and put it on his back. He should tie a cloth around his head. He should go in the southwestern sections of the town and keep his face down at all times. 116. If it is in the morning, he should sit facing north. If it is in the evening, he should sit facing south. He should sit quietly and not look at the sun, moon, stars, the sky, and other people. He should quietly complete the excretions. 117. If a Brahmin performs his excretions while standing up, he shall suffer the extreme distress of hell for that many years as the number of hairs he has on his body. 118. If a Brahmin urinates while still wearing his dhoti, or if he does not cleanse himself after urination and just wears his dhoti, he has to definitely experience the distress of hell. Note, a dhoti is a 5-yard piece of white cloth that is owned by Hindu men, primarily Brahmins. They also wear a 3-yard piece of white cloth called Angavastra on the upper body, that is torso. 119. If after excretion a person does not find a water to wash himself, he should contemplate on the holy river Ganga in his mind. He should then cleanse himself with mud. He should not eat or drink anything until finds clean water to cleanse himself. 120. I shall now tell you the spots that one should pick for his excretions. One should not excrete on fresh green grass or leaves. One may excrete on dried leaves and grass. 121. One should avoid excreting on the leaves of the holy Ashwatha tree, the Bilwa, that is wood apple tree, or near other holy trees. One should avoid excreting near temples or roads or pathways along which people walk. After excretion, one should hold his penis in his hand and go to the water to cleanse himself. 122. If one cannot find water for cleansing, then he may use mud. Clean mud is required for cleansing. One should avoid dirty mud at all costs. One should avoid mud from an anthill, the mud that a rat or other rodent has burrowed through, and the mud from the middle of the riverbed. 123. One should also avoid the mud on the road and the mud under a tree. One should avoid mud from near the temples and other holy pilgrimage spots. 124. The mud from the pond, well, or a lake is very good. People should go to such places, sprinkle themselves with the water from these ponds, wells, or lakes, and then collect the mud. 125. One should make mud balls the size of fresh gooseberries. 1 mud ball should be used to cleanse the penis. 5 mud balls should be used to cleanse the anus. One should use 3 mud balls for cleansing each hand. 126. Similarly, one should use 3 mud balls to cleanse each leg. The cleansing procedure is to be followed after urination. After excreting faces, one should use twice the number of mud balls for cleansing the purpose. After excreting semen, one should use 3 times the number of mud balls for cleansing purposes. 127. This is the cleansing procedure for married householders, brahmacharis, that is bachelors pursuing divine knowledge, should perform the procedure twice to cleanse themselves. People in the 3rd stage of life should perform the procedure 3 times, and sannyasis should perform it 4 times. 128. If it is night time, then one may perform half the above mentioned cleansing procedures. In case of emergency or while traveling, one may perform a quarter of the cleansing procedures. By performing the cleansing procedures correctly, one attains fulfillment of all his rituals quickly. 129. A Brahmin must strictly follow these procedures from the day of his sacred thread ceremony. This cleansing procedure is applicable to all 4 varanas or castes of people and for people of all ages and genders. 130. After this cleansing procedure, a Brahmin must gargle and rinse his mouth 8 times with water. A Kshatriya must rinse his mouth 6 times, and Vaishya 4 times, and Shudra 2 times. 131. After cleansing his mouth, he must sit in a clean spot and perform achamana twice, and then contemplate on his family deity. O Brahmins, listen, I shall now tell you the protocol of achamana. 132. There are 5 tirthas, that is holy spots, or a Brahmin's right hand. The Agni Tirtha is in the middle of his palm. The Brahma Tirtha is at the base of the palm. 133. The Pitru Tirtha is located between the thumb and the index finger. The Deva Tirtha is located at the tips of the finger. The Rishi Tirtha is located at the base of the little finger. 134. A Brahmin must use the Agni Tirtha to hold the water when he makes a donation of items or money to other Brahmins. He must perform Achamana using the Brahma Tirtha. He must use the Pitru Tirtha to offer oblations of water to his ancestors. He must use the Deva Tirtha to offer Arghya and Puja to the gods. He must use the Rishi Tirtha to offer libations to the Rishis, sages. A Brahmin must perform the Achamana while reciting the names beginning with Keshava. Note, all the names such as Keshava used during the Achamana are the different names of Lord Vishnu. Swaha is the term used for any offering. In this case, the offering is water to oneself. The procedure of Achamana. 135 to 141. The Achamana procedure is as given below. Every action is accompanied by the recitation of different names of Lord Vishnu. In all, 24 names of Lord Vishnu should be recited. A Brahmin must use a small vessel of water, a small spoon, and a small vessel to hold the libations. Om Keshvaya Swaha. Drink a little water via the Brahma Tirtha. Om Narayana Swaha. Drink a little water via the Brahma Tirtha. Om Madhvaya Namaha. Drink a little water via the Brahma Tirtha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Put a little water in the palm and let it slide down into the water vessel via the Deva Tirtha. Om Vishnave Namaha. Wipe the left palm with the right palm. Om Madhusudanaya Namaha. Wipe the right palm with the left palm. Om Trivikramaya Namaha. Touch the right cheek. Om Vamanaya Namaha and touch the left cheek. Om Sridharaya Namaha and touch the lower lip with the finger. Om Hrishikeshaya Namaha. Fold the hands together. Om Padmanabhaya Namaha. Touch the legs. Om Damodaraya Namaha. Touch the crown of the head with the right hand. Om Sankarshaya Namaha. Hold the nose with the four fingers of the right hand. Om Vasudevaya Namaha. Touch the right nostril with thumb and index finger. Om Pradyumnaya Namaha. Touch the left nostril with the thumb and index finger. Om Anuruddhaya Namaha. Touch the right eye with the thumb and ring finger. Om Purushottamaya Namaha. Touch the left eye with the thumb and ring finger. Om Adokshajaya Namaha. Touch the right ear with the thumb and little finger. Om Narasimhaswamy Banavara. Touch the left ear with the thumb and little finger. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Touch the navel with the thumb and little finger. Om Janardhanaya Namaha. Touch the heart with the palm. Om Upendraya Namaha. Touch the head with all the fingers. Om Hareye Namaha. Touch the right shoulder with all the fingers. Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha. Touch the left shoulder with all the fingers. A Brahmin must perform Achamana using this procedure. 142. A Brahmin must perform Achamana during Sandhya Vandana, that is oblations performed at dawn, noon and dusk, sacrifices and all other rituals. The names of Lord Vishnu may be recited in the nominative or the dative classes. Note, Vishnu is the nominative case and Vishnave Namaha is the dative case. Stating salutations to Lord Vishnu, Keshava is the nominative case and Keshavaya Namaha is the dative case. 143. The term Namaha, salutations must be added at the end of the recitation of the Lord's name. Thus one must recite all 24 names of Lord Vishnu twice. 144. Thus Achamana must be performed twice, both at the beginning and at the end of the rituals. If one cannot do this, he can perform an abridged Achamana. One should drink water 3 times with the name of Keshava, Narayana and Madhava. Then he should wash his hands with the names of Vishnu and Madhusudana. 145. Then he should touch his ears. This is, however, not a true Achamana. When one performs Sandhyavandan and other rituals, then one must perform a true Achamana with all the 24 names of the Lord. If one touches a Shuddha or a man from a lowly caste, then he must perform Achamana twice. After taking a bath, one must perform Achamana. After lunch and dinner, he must perform Achamana. 146. After eating breakfast and drinking water or other drinks, one must perform Achamana. If one goes to the cemetery, then he must perform Achamana after returning from there. If one washes someone else's feet, then he must perform Achamana. In all these instances, one may perform the abridged Achamana twice. 147. In case one does not find water to perform Achamana in any of these instances or other instances, then he may perform Achamana just by touching his right ear. When one performs one's rituals with profound devotion, how can he ever be miserable? The procedure of brushing one's teeth. 148. Maharshi Parashara said, to destroy bad breath, I shall tell you the procedure for brushing your teeth. One must avoid brushing one's teeth on the days of the Parvakala or on the first and the sixth days of the lunar fortnight. Note 1. Readers should note that this prohibition is only for brushing with specific twigs, as mentioned below in verse 151. People should brush their teeth twice every day with herbs and other leaves. One should also clean one's tongue several times daily. 149. One should also avoid brushing with specific twigs on the 9th and 12th day of the lunar fortnight. One should also avoid brushing one's teeth with specific twigs on Sunday, Tuesdays, on the days of Shraddha, weddings and other auspicious days. 150. If one brushes his teeth with a twig from cactus plant, date palm, the ketaki plant and the coconut tree, he shall become a chandala, that is an outcast man. Note, the ketaki plant is a fragrant screw pine, Pandanus odoratissimus. Its fragrant flowers are used for the worship of Lord Vishnu, but are prohibited for the worship of Lord Shiva. 151. One may brush his teeth using the twigs from the following meritorious and pure trees: Kadira, Adambara, that is fig; Vata, that is banyan; Apamarga, that is the plant of Acaranthus aspera, employed very often in incantation, in medicine and in sacrifices; the Arka plant; and Ranjaka, the Indian beech tree. 151. The twig should be 12 inches long for a Brahmin, 9 inches long for a Kshatriya, and 6 inches long for Vaishya and Shudras. 153. While cutting the twig from the tree, one must chant the mantra Ayurbalam. He should then soften the edge of the twig. He should then brush his teeth with smooth edges. Note, the mantra is as follows. After 154. After brushing, he must throw away the twig in the southwestern direction while chanting the mantra Mukha Durgandha. He must then gargle and rinse his mouth 12 times and then perform Achamana twice. The procedure of bath. 155. Then he must perform his morning snana bath. By doing this, all objectives will be fulfilled. With a morning bath, people will attain an increase in luster, strength and lifespan. 156. One's intellect will increase with a morning bath. Effect of bad dreams will be vanquished. All gods will be appeased. A person shall obtain fortune, happiness, contentment and pleasure. 157. The morning bath shall ward away poverty, worry, sorrow and all kinds of sins. Married householders should bathe every day in the morning and at noon. 158. Sannyasis, people in the third stage of life and people who have solemnly vowed to perform certain rituals should bathe 3 times a day, at dawn, noon and dusk. A brahmachari bachelor must bathe only once a day in the morning. 159. In times of emergencies and distress, when one does not get water to bathe, when one is sick or weak, one may perform the following types of symbolic baths. If the dust which is kicked off by the feet of the cows touch a person, this is regarded as Vayusnana, that is wind bath. If one applies bhasma to one's body, that is regarded as Agneya Snana, that is fire bath. 160. If one sprinkles water on himself while chanting the 3 mantras beginning with Apohishta, this is regarded as Mantra Snana, that is mantra bath. If one applies soft mud to his body and takes a bath, then this is regarded as Bhauma Snana, that is mud bath or earth bath. If one stands in the bright sun for a long time, that is regarded as Divya Snana, that is divine bath. 161, 162. The contemplation of Lord Vishnu and the darshan of one's guru are regarded as mental bath. If one washes the feet of one's parents and sprinkles that water upon oneself, he earns the merits of a bath in a holy tirtha. All of these are only symbolic baths. They should be used only in emergencies. Otherwise, one should always bathe in clean water. 163. If one touches a chandala, then he must definitely bath in water. After vomiting, after having sex, after touching a Shudra person, one may perform the symbolic baths. Or one may also perform a bath with just mantras. 164. If a person is strong-bodied and health, then he must always bath in water. A person sick and weak person may perform symbolic baths. 165. A hot water bath is good for a weak person. Water is a natural medicine and relief producing medium. Water that has been heated is particularly beneficial. This is the best water for a bath for a married householder. 166. When one baths at home with hot water, there is no need for achamana, sankalpa, libations of water, reciting the Agamarshana Sukta mantras, meditation and wringing the water out of the clothes. 167. One must mix the hot water and cold water appropriately. He should invoke divinity in the water by chanting the holy Gayatri mantra and the Apohishta mantras. He should then bath with the water and then purify himself by sprinkling a little water on himself. 168. One must always bath with cold water when a child is born in the household or when a death occurs in the household. One must bath in cold water on the days of Shankranti, on the days of Shraddha, that is death ceremonies, on the days of rituals, and on the days of Parvakala. One should not bath with cold water on auspicious days and on festival days. Note: Shankranti is the harvest festival held in January when the sun moves from Sagittarius to Capricorn. 169. When a person baths in a river, he should stand facing the water currents. When a person baths in a well, pond, or a lake, he should face east. He should wear the pavitra, tie the lock of hair on the crown of his head, and bathe in silence. Note: a pavitra is a blade of darba gas tied around the ring finger of the right hand as a ring. 170. He must recite the Agamarshana Sukta mantras, offer libations of water to the gods and others, perform achamana and wear his clothes while chanting Vedic mantras. He should then contemplate on Lord Vishnu. 171. He should chant the mantra Apavitra Pavitrova to contemplate on Lord Vishnu. Then he should purify himself by chanting the Apohishta mantras and sprinkle himself with a little water. One should avoid an oil bath on Sundays since it causes fever. 172. An oil bath on Mondays leads to decrease in luster. An oil bath on Tuesdays may lead to death. An oil bath on Wednesdays leads to an increase in wealth and fortune. But an oil bath on Thursdays leads to loss of wealth and fortune. 173. An oil bath on Friday leads to harm befalling upon one's children. An oil bath on Saturdays leads to attainment of fortune. People should understand this issue and perform oil baths accordingly. A married woman must not wash her hair every day. 174. Weak persons who are unable to bathe in the river water may stand on the river bank, recite the hymns, and wipe their bodies with wet cloth. One obtains the same merits as a ritual bath. The procedure of wearing clothes and sectarian marks. 175. A married householder must not wear saffron-colored clothes, red clothes, dirty clothes, old clothes, and burnt clothes. He must not wear just one piece of cloth. If he does any of these things, all his merits shall be usurped by the Rakshasas. 176. Wearing a white dhoti and a white upper cloth are most appropriate for a Brahmin. After wearing his clothes, a Brahmin must apply bhasma on his body while chanting the appropriate mantras. 177. The soft white clay from Dwaraka is the best for application on one's body. If one cannot obtain this, then one may apply bhasma, that is holy ash. If one does not have the bhasma, then he may use soft clay from the riverbed. One must apply the Urdhvapundra with that clay. Note: 1. Dwaraka was a city created by Lord Krishna from the ocean waters. Dwaraka is located on the shores of the Arabian Sea in the modern state of Gujarat. 2. The soft white clay from Dwaraka is referred to as Gopi Chandana. 3. The Urdhvapundra is an upright and perpendicular sectarian mark on the forehead. 178-179. A person desiring strength and affluence must apply the Urdhvapundra with his thumb. By doing this, the person shall attain the abode of Lord Vishnu. A person desiring a long life should apply the Urdhvapundra with the middle finger. A person desiring food should use his ring finger, and a person desiring salvation should use his index finger. One should not use his fingernails to apply the pundra. One incurs sins by doing this. If the pundra is 10 fingers long on the forehead, then it is considered best. If it is 8 inches long, then it is considered medium. 180. If the pundra is 6 inches long or less, then it is considered inferior. One must apply the pundra according to one's family tradition. One must apply the pundra on the forehead while chanting Keshava. He must then apply it on his navel while chanting Narayana. 181-183. He must then apply the pundra on his chest while chanting Madhava, and on his neck while chanting Govinda. He must apply it on the right side of his stomach while chanting Vishnu, on the right shoulder while chanting Madhusudana, and on the right ear while chanting Trivikrama. He must apply the pundra on the left side of his stomach while chanting Vamana, on his left shoulder while chanting Sridhara, and his left ear while chanting Hrishikesha. He must apply the pundra on his back while chanting Padmanabha, and on his head while chanting Damodara. He must then recite the rest of the Lord's name from Sankarshana until Sri Krishna. 184. After applying the Urdhva Pundra, one must also apply Tripundra Bhasma, by thus appeasing Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva respectively. With the Urdhva Pundra and Tripundra, one definitely gets happiness in his life and salvation in the next. 185. One must not wear the Gopi Chandana clay on the days of Shraddha, that is death ceremonies, on the days of worship of the Lord, on the days of wedding and other auspicious occasions, after an oil bath and during mourning. The greatness of Dharma grass. 186. The Dharma grass is essential during Brahma Yagna, libations, sacrifices, Sandhyavandana and other rituals. There are 10 types of Dharma grass. 187. The 10 types of Dharma grass are Kusha, Kasha, Yava, Ushira, Goduma, Virhi, Kundara, Truna, Munja grass and Dhruva grass. 188. One should cut the fresh grass and bring it home every day. In case that is not possible, then one should cut the grass on the new moon day in the month of Shravana, that is the 5th Hindu month, while chanting the appropriate mantras and collect it at home. 189. 4 blades of dharma grass are required for a Brahmin for his pavitra, that is ring around his ring finger. 3 blades are required for a Kshatriya, 2 for a Vaishya and 1 blade for Shudra. 190. The greatness of the dharma grass is extraordinary. At the base of the blade of the grass resides Lord Shiva. At its tips resides Lord Brahma. Lord Vishnu resides in the middle of the blade. A pavitra made from the blade of the grass vanquishes all sins. 191, 192. Just as Lord Vishnu holds the chakra, that is discus, in his hands and destroys the demons, just as Lord Shiva holds the Trishula, trident, in his hands and vanquishes the Rakshasas, just as Lord Indra holds the Vajrayudha, that is thunderbolt, in his hand and shatters mountains to pieces, a man wearing a pavitra made of dharma grass can destroy all sins. 193. Just as a fire reduces a heap of grass to ashes within moments, a pavitra made of dharma grass reduces all sins to ashes within moments. 194. During Brahma Yagna and other sacrifices, a nod is required for the pavitra. During lunch, a nod is not required. A Brahmin must wear the pavitra in both his hands with devotion. 195. Just as a fire burns away camphor in seconds, a pavitra burns all sins to ashes within seconds. A pavitra is made up of 2 blades of dharma grass the size of the span from the thumb to the forefinger. 196. This pavitra is used for all religious purposes while donating something to someone, during meditation, during the reading of the Vedas, during sacrifices, during rituals for one's ancestors. One may use a pavitra made of gold, silver or the dharma grass. 197. The golden pavitra is most appropriate for worship of the gods, and the silver pavitra is most appropriate when performing the rituals for one's ancestors. One should wear the golden pavitra on his right finger, ring finger, and the silver pavitra on his index finger. 198. One should also wear a ring made of the horns of rhinoceros on his little finger. If a person's father is alive, then he should not wear the rhinoceros ring. The piece of cloth one uses for the practice of yoga and the silver ring on his index finger. 199. If one's father is alive, then he must not perform the Gaya Shraddha, nor must he wear any footwear. If a man wears a ring with the Navaratnas, that is 9 divine germs, then he does not incur any sins. Note 1. The Gaya Shraddha is the death ceremony one performs of one's ancestor in the holy pilgrimage site of Gaya, in the modern state of Bihar. 200. A Brahmin must wear at least 1 ring with a divine gem. O Brahmins, I shall now describe to you the 3 types of Sandhya times. Note, the 3 Sandhya times are dawn, noon and dusk. Sandhyavandana refers to the religious act and rituals performed during the 3 Sandhya times. The procedure of Sandhyavandana. 201. First is the Prata Sandhya, that is morning rituals to be performed at dawn. It is of 3 types. The Sandhyavandana performed while the stars are still shining in the sky is most superior. The rituals performed after the stars have disappeared is intermediate. The rituals performed after the sun has risen completely is most inferior. 202. Next is the Sayam Sandhya, that is evening rituals to be performed at dusk. It is of three types. The Sandhya Vandana performed while the sun is still shining in the sky is most superior. The rituals performed after the sun has set is intermediate. The rituals performed when the stars are shining in the sky is most inferior. 203. The third is the Madhyanika Sandhya, rituals to be performed at noon. It may be performed after a half yama, after afternoon until evening. Thus, Sandhya Vandana must be performed at these specified times. Sandhya Vandana performed at other times yields no fruits. Note, yama is a slice of time equal to 3 hours. The procedure of pranayama. 204. Before performing the Sandhya Vandana, the Brahmin must tie the tuft of the hair on the crown of his head, wear his pavitra and perform achamana twice. The married householder must fold his middle and ring fingers down and hold his nose with the little finger, index finger and thumb, and then perform pranayama. Sannyasis and brahmacharis should hold their nose with all the 5 fingers and perform pranayama. 205. The pranayama procedure is follows. The married householder must breathe in air slowly through his left nostril and hold his breath. Then he must chant the Om syllable, the 7 Vrahrutis, and the holy Gayatri mantra in his mind. Note, the Om syllable will accompany each of the 7 Vrahrutis, which are the names of the 7 upper worlds. The chants are Om Buhu, Om Buhaha, Om Swaha, Om Mahaha, Om Jaraha, Om Tapaha, Om and Om Satyam. 206. He must then chant 3 times and then slowly release his breath to the right nostril. He must then take a golden, silver or wooden spoon filled with water in his left hand. The procedure of marjana, that is sprinkling of water upon oneself. 207 and 208. He must then sprinkle some of the water in the spoon on himself with his right hand. A broken, earthen or 2-spouted vessel and spoon are prohibited for this purpose. Reciting the Apohishta mantras, he must sprinkle water on his head, legs and heart. He must recite all the mantras while sprinkling water on his head. He should recite the mantras Tanaurche Dadhatana and Tasya Bhajayate Hanaha while sprinkling water on his leg. While reciting the mantra Yakshakshayana Jinvatha, he should sprinkle the water on his heart. He must also perform the achamana with the following mantras. In the morning he must recite Suryascha, and in the afternoon he must recite Apaha Punatu. 209. In the evening he must recite Agnishcha mantras for the achamana. He must then perform achamana again and then sprinkle some water upon himself with Apohita mantras. Then he must ward off the evil and sinful spirits by reciting the Ritancha mantra. Here he smells the water and drops it on the ground into the plate before him. The procedure of Arghya. 210. Then he must perform achamana again. After this he must then recite the holy Gayatri mantra and offer Arghya to the sun god 3 times. The Arghya procedure is as follows. Each time the Brahmin must take the water in both his hands and lift the hands up to the height of a cow's horn. Then he must slowly leave the water to fall down from the front of his hands. 211. In the morning and evening he must offer Arghya 3 times. If the appropriate time has passed, then he must offer a 4th Arghya as penitence. He must offer Arghya once in the afternoon while receiving the Hansa Suchikshana mantras. He must offer Arghya in the morning and the afternoon in standing position and in the sitting position in the evening. I shall now tell you the reason for Arghya. 212. Previously there were 33 crores of Rakshasas, demons called Mandeha. These demons would cause impediments to the rising of the sun. As a result, all the religious acts, rituals and sacrifices were hindered. Note, all religious acts and sacrifices are supposed to be performed only during the day. If there is no daylight, they cannot be performed. 213. These hindrances caused all the gods to starve. The entire universe was in trouble. Therefore, Brahmins were advised to offer Arghya. The water of the Arghya are equal to the great Vajrayuda, that is thunderbolt in strength. Note, it is believed that the gods subsist on whatever is offered in religious sacrifices by devout and dedicated Brahmins. 214. The waters of the Arghya destroy the demons every day. These Rakshasas are from the lineage of Lord Brahma and therefore are considered Brahmins as well. By killing these demons, one incurs the deadly sins of Brahmatya. In order to absolve themselves of these sins, Brahmins are advised to circumambulate the earth. 215. If the Brahmin on the earth chants the Asavadityo Brahma mantras complete a circumambulation around themselves and sprinkle water all around themselves. They are absolved of all the sins. They become instantly purified. 216. Offer argya to the sun god at home yields 1 unit of merits. Offering the same outside the house yields 10 times those merits. Offering argya in the river yields 100 times the merits. Offering argya at Pushkara and other pilgrimage sites yields 1000 times the merits. 217. Offering argya in the holy river Ganga yields indefinite merits. Thus, there are numerous merits to be obtained by performing Sandhya Vandana. Deadly sins are incurred by having sexual intercourse during daytime, drinking liquor, and telling lies. 218. These sins and other sins are completely destroyed by performing Sandhya Vandana outside the house. Similarly, by chanting the holy Gayatri mantra at home, one sin is destroyed. By chanting the divine mantra in the river, 3 sins are destroyed. 10 sins are destroyed by chanting the sacred mantra in the forest. The procedure of meditating on the divine Gayatri mantra, Gayatri Chapa. 219. Chanting the divine Gayatri mantra in a cow shed and in the fire shed destroys 100 sins. Chanting the mantra at the holy pilgrimage centers and in front of the Lord destroys 1000 sins. Chanting the divine mantra in front of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva shall destroy indefinite sins. 220. If one sits on a wooden seat for the japa meditation, he will incur misery, infamy, and loans. If one sits on leaves or clothes, then he will incur poverty. If one sits on a stone for japa, he will incur diseases. 221. If one sits on a seat made of dharma grass, he shall obtain magical powers. In addition, he will be cured of diseases and all sins, and he will attain an increase in his memory powers and his lifespan. If one meditates while sitting on holy bhasma, then he will be cured of all diseases. 222. If one sits on a woolen rug while performing the japa, he will attain happiness. If one meditates while sitting on Krishnanjana, then he will obtain knowledge. If one meditates while sitting on a tiger skin, he will attain wealth, fortune, and salvation. While sitting down, one must chant the Vrahurtis and then sit down. 223. He should purify himself by performing achamana, pray to the goddess earth, and recite mantras to ward away evil spirits. Then he must contemplate on the divine form of goddess Gayatri with a steadfast mind and with devotion. 224. He must then contemplate on the rishis, sage responsible for the divine mantra, the principal deity of the mantra, and the chandas, meter. He must recite the syllables of the mantra while performing nyasa in his finger and in the various parts of the body, including the heart. He must then perform the requisite mudras. Note 1. Nyasa is the mental appropriation or assignment of various parts of the body to tutelary deities. Nyasa is always performed during rituals. 2. Mudras are particular positions and specific intertwining of the fingers during religious worship and rituals, and are supposed to possess an occult meaning and magical efficacy. 225. He must then contemplate on the principal deity of the mantra and recite one of the 3 hymns of Baladitayati, set of hymns depending on the time, morning, afternoon, and evening. He must then recite Agacha Varade mantra and then stand up. 226. Facing east, he must contemplate on the meaning of the mantras and slowly perform the japa. The Gayatri japa is as follows. First chant the Om syllable, then chant the Vrahurtis, then chant the holy Gayatri mantra in 3 groups, also called padas, of 8 syllables each. Then one must chant the mantra using these 5 parts. Note, a pada is a group of 8 syllables. The Gayatri mantra is composed of 3 padas or 24 syllables. 227. One must focus his eyesight on the tip of his nose and chant the mantra with calm and peaceful mind. He must perform the japa slowly and purposefully. After the meditation, he must perform nyasa in his heart and other parts of his body. 228. The sacred scriptures state that goddess Gayatri protects the person who meditates on her. All the scriptures assent to this statement. The term mantra comprises of 2 syllables. Note, Gayantam Trayate iti Gayatri, meaning that Gayatri protects those who sing about her. This is the very meaning of goddess Gayatri. 229. The first syllable man refers to the mind. The second syllable tra refers to protection. Therefore, the mantra protects the mind. The holy Gayatri mantra vanquishes all sins, miseries, and afflictions. 230. The term japa or meditation comprises of 2 syllables. The first syllable ja is janma nashaka, meaning it destroys the cycles of birth. The second syllable pa is papanashaka, meaning it destroys all sins. Thus, japa or meditation destroys all sins and destroys the cycles of births and rebirths. 223. The Gayatri Mantra is the primary root for all the Vedas. It is accepted by all the scriptures. One gets all the merits of the reading of Vedas by performing the Gayatri Japa. 232. Whoever does not perform the Gayatri Japa lives the wasted life of a pig. A Brahmin who performs the Gayatri Japa constantly shall attain fulfillment of all desires. 233. The Gayatri Mantra is the core of the state of Brahminhood. Whether he performs any other ritual or not, a Brahmin must definitely perform the Gayatri Japa. Thus states a Brahmin by the name of Maitra. 234. A person should not chant the Gayatri Mantra while standing in water. Whoever stands in water and performs the Gayatri Japa shall definitely lose his intellect. There are 3 fires present in the water. The scripture states, Agnim Cha, Vishwa Swambhuvam. The Lord Agni, fire is present all over the world in every element. 235. The 3 fires are the Dakshina Agni, Grahapatya Agni and the Avaniya Agni. These fires shall burn up the merits of the japa. By chanting the Gayatri Mantra in the water, one loses his luster and radiance. Note, there are 3 types of sacrificial fire, the Grahapatya Agni, Ahavaniya Agni and Dakshina Agni. Grahapatya Agni, the householder's fire transmitted from father to son in the same household. Dakshina Agni, the southern fire of the altar. Avaniya Agni, the eastern fire of the altar, the fire which is prepared from the householder's fire to receive the sacrificial oblations. 236. Therefore, one must never perform the divine Gayatri Japa in water. One should sit in a clean spot and perform the Gayatri Japa with a Japamala, that is rosary. One should hold the rosary at his navel in the morning while performing the Gayatri Japa. 237. He should not hold the rosary at his heart in the afternoons and at his face in the evenings and perform the Gayatri Japa. He should hold the rosary at his heart and in the afternoons and at his face in the evenings and perform the Gayatri Japa. 238. In the mornings, one must stand up and perform the Gayatri Japa. In the afternoons, he must either stand up or sit while performing the Japa. 239. In the evenings, he should sit down for the Japa. He must always focus his sight on a tree or a plant in front of him. If there is no tree or plant, he may focus his sight on the tip of his nose. This is required so that his concentration is steadfast. 240. A married householder must chant the holy Gayatri Mantra 108 times in the morning, afternoons and evenings. A person in the 3rd stage of life and a sannyasi must chant the mantra 1000 times. A Brahmin who is sick may chant the Gayatri Mantra just 108 times. If he is too sick to do that, he may chant the mantras just 28 times. If he is feeling better, he can always do more. 242. Mental japa is the most superior form of performing japa. Moving one's lip and chanting softly, referred to as Upamshu, is intermediate. Chanting at a higher voice so that other people can hear the mantra is the most inferior form of japa. 243. Whoever recites the divine Gayatri Mantra along with the Om syllable at the Vrahrutis shall have all their sins destroyed completely. 244. One must stop at the end of every pada, that is group of 8 syllable, and chant with devotion. By doing this, all sins shall be completely destroyed. There is no doubt in this. 245. Therefore, if one stops at the end of each pada and chants the Gayatri Mantra with devotion, all sins, including the deadly sins, Brahmahatya, shall be destroyed, and he shall obtain infinite merits. There is no doubt in this. 246. If one counts the number of chants with his fingers, then he obtains 1 unit of merits. If he counts with the digits of his finger, then he obtains 10 times the merits. 247. If one uses a rosary of shells to count the chants, then he obtains 100 times the merits. If one uses a rosary of coral beads, he obtains 1000 times the merits. 248. If one counts the chants using a rosary of crystal beads, he obtains 10,000 times the merits. Using a rosary of pearl grants 100,000, that is 1 lakh times the merit. If one uses a rosary of Padmakshi beads and chants with it, he obtains 10 lakh times the merits. Note, Padmakshi beads are similar to Rudraksha beads. 249. If one counts the chants using a rosary of golden beads, then he obtains a merit crowfold. If one uses a rosary of Rudraksha beads to perform Gayatri Japa, then he obtains infinite merits. 250. If he counts the chants using a rosary of dharma grass knots, then he obtains countless merits. While performing the Gayatri Japa, one should have a clear and steadfast mind. While rotating the beads, there should not be any sound. 251. One must invoke divinity in Japamala, rosary. While performing the Japa, one should cover the Japamala with a cloth. One must hold the Japamala between the thumb and the middle finger and rotate each bead forward to the right with the thumb. 252. The big bead at the end of the Japamala is referred to as Merumani. It is not taken into account while counting the number of beads in the Japamala. While performing the Japa, one must not cross the Merumani. While crossing the Merumani, one must reverse the Japamala on the middle finger and continue the Japa. If one crosses the Merumani by accident, then one should purify oneself by performing 3 pranayamas. 253. When whoever performs the Gayatri Japa for 3 days without a break shall have all 3 forms of sins destroyed. The 3 forms of sins are physical sins, mental sins, and sins occurred by speech. 254. If one performs 108 Gayatri Japas in addition to the regular evening Japas, then one is absolved of very minor offense. There is no doubt in this. 255. Chanting the Gayatri Mantra 1000 times absolves one of all offenses and minor sins. Chanting the Gayatri Mantras 1 crore times absolves one of deadly sins. 256. With whatever wish one performs the Gayatri Japa, one attains fulfillment of all those wishes. If one takes money and performs the Gayatri Japa on someone else's behalf, then he shall incur deadly sins. 257. If one chants the Gayatri Mantra for money, he shall be reborn as a Chandala, that is outcast man. While performing the divine Gayatri Japa, one must keep his mind steadfast and should not look hither and thither. 258. He should not speak with anyone, nor should he look at the Shudras and other people. If there is an itch on any part of the body, then he should ignore the itch and perform the japa with a strong and steadfast mind. He must not scratch himself anywhere on his body. 259. If he performs any of these actions by accident, then he must touch his right ear and contemplate on Lord Vishnu. He must recite the name Achyuta, Ananta and Govinda, or he must chant the mantras Idam, Vishnur, Vichakarme. That is the remedy for his sinful actions. Note 1. It is stated in verse 112 that even 7 gods reside in the right ear of the Brahmin. Therefore, one is instantly purified by touching his right ear. 260. If there are pictures of several gods, or if there are several idols of different gods, and if one's mind wanders here and there during the Gayatri Japa, then he should purify himself by touching his right ear. 261. During Japa, if a Chandala comes in sight of the person performing the Japa, then he must purify himself by performing Achamana twice. 262. During Japa, if one talks with a fallen and sinful person, then he can purify himself only by bathing. Therefore, one must try as much as possible to be quiet during the Japa. 263. If one inevitably has to talk with another Brahmin, then he may purify himself by chanting the Tad Vishnu mantra. 264. If during the Gayatri Japa one dozes off, passes gas, yawns or gets angry, then these actions results in deadly sins. 265. If these actions occurs intentionally or by accident, then one can overcome the sins by touching his right ear. One is also purified by looking at the sun or at a cow. 266. One is also purified of the sins by chanting the Idam Vishnur Vichakarme. As mentioned earlier, with this form of Gayatri Japa, one attains fulfillment of one's desires and wishes. One should not doubt my words. Thus spoke Maharshi Parashara. 267. In the morning, one must chant the Mitrasaya mantras. After completing the Gayatri Japa, one must recite the Udityam mantra in the afternoons and Ivamme Varuna mantras in the evening. 268. Then he must chant the mantras as prescribed the original sage of one's shaka, that is division. Then according to tradition, one must salute one's guru and one's elders. 269. Then he must perform pradakshina, that is circumambulations, and salute all the directions and tutelary deities of these directions. Finally, he must state his gotra and parva, ending with the term Sharma, and salute the feet of his guru and his elders. The procedure of Upasana. 270. After thus performing Sandhyavandana, married householders perform Upasana, that is ritual sacrifice. After his marriage, a householder must definitely perform the Upasana both in the morning and in the evening every day. 271. There are two types of upasana, one performed before the sunrise and one performed after sunrise. Whichever type a person follows, he must follow the same procedure until the end of his life. 272. One must not perform upasana on the bare ground or with an ordinary fire, one used for cooking. One should light the fire in a standila or in a kunda. Note, a standila is 1 foot by 1 foot square area prepared with dry mud or with bricks and mud for the purpose of establishing the sacrificial fire. 2. A kunda is a small square pit dug in the ground or a square metal basin used for a sacrificial fire. 273. After establishing the fire in the standila or kunda, one should add twigs or small logs of wood to set the fire going and then perform the upasana according to procedure. One should not use a wide wicker tray to fan the flames. 274. If one uses a leaf to fan the flames, then it will lead to diseases for the person. If he uses a wickery tray to fan the flames, then it will lead to loss of fortune. If one uses one's hand to fan the flames, then it will lead to death. If one uses his mouth directly to blow the flames, then it will lead to a decrease in his lifespan. 275. Therefore, one should use a hollow bamboo tube like a flute or a wicker hand fan to fan the flames. One should thus set the fire going, contemplating on Lord Agni, the god of fire, and then worship the fire. 276. Then he should offer oblations into the blazing flames. First one should offer the samit, that is twigs or specific trees, into the sacrificial fire. Then he should offer prescribed sacred ingredients into the sacrificial fire. 277. The samit twigs, flowers, dhruva grass and other ingredients brought by Shudras are prohibited. They should not be used to perform the upasana. If one purchases these ingredients from Brahmins, then they cannot be used as well for the upasana. I shall tell you what the ingredients for an upasana are. 278. Millet, paddy, wheat, barley, maize and milk are the primary ingredients used for the upasana. Of the grains, one must use only one kind of grain always. 279. In the first sacrificial offering, there should be 60 grains dipped in ghee. One should not use any other number less than 60. The second offering must have more grains than the first offering. 280. In the absence of ghee, one may use sesame seed oil, or one may perform the upasana with sesame seed itself. Scholars accept sesame seeds as valid ingredients for the upasana. 281. After the upasana is complete, the Brahmin must perform Brahma Yajna and Tarpana outside his home. I shall now tell you about it. The procedure of Brahma Yajna. 282. One should perform the Brahma Yajna after the morning upasana, after the afternoon sandhyavandana, or after the Vishwadeva ceremony. 283. Brahma Yajna performed near a reservoir of water is the best. One should take a bath, perform Achamana, Pranayama and perform Sankalpa, that is Solomon vow. Then he should recite the mantras Vidyudasi. 284. He should sit down and put his right leg over his left thigh. He should take some water and dharba grass in his hand and hold it. 285. He should then clasp both his hands together on his right knee, focus on the sky which is in between the heaven and the earth, and chant the following mantras. 286. He should chant the Om syllable, the Vrahrutis and the three padas of the divine Gayatri mantra. Half a rik and then a complete mantra. He should recite this 3 times. Then he should recite the mantra of his own shaka. Note: 1. A rik is sacred verse or hymn. The term Rig Veda comes from the collection of riks. 287. On the days permitted for the study of the Vedas, the Brahmin should recite as many mantras as he can. On the days not permitted for the study of the Vedas, then he should recite some Veda mantras. Note: the following days of the lunar fortnight are not permitted for the study of the Vedas. 1st, 8th and 14th days, full moon and new moon days. 288. During these days he must recite 1 chapter or at least 1 sukta, a collection of mantras. A weak or sick person may recite just 1 rik. Then one must end the Brahma Yajna with the mantra Namo Brahmane. 289. Reciting the mantra Vristirashi, he should let the water in his hand flow down. Later he should perform Tarpana, O sages. I shall tell you about the Tarpana now. 290. Dharba grass is very important for the Brahma Yajna because gods reside in this grass. By using the Dharba grass from the Brahma Yajna, all the Vasus, Rudras, Adityas and Pitrus will be appeased. 291. One cannot perform the Brahma Yajna anytime he pleases. It should be done only in the morning. By doing this and chanting the Gayatri mantra 3 times, one attains the merits of a complete reading of the Vedas. The procedure of Tarpana. 292. One should appease the gods by offering Tarpana, that is libations of water via Devatirtha, on one's right palm. Along with dharba grass, barley and water, one should use the tip of the dharba grass for the Tarpana. One should appease the rishis, sages by offering Tarpana via the Rishitirtha and Pitrus by offering Tarpana via the Pitrutirtha. 293. One should not offer Tarpana into a vessel. One should not offer Tarpana into a reservoir of water. One should also avoid offering Tarpana onto the ground, nor should one offer Tarpana inside the home. 294. One should spread dharba grass on the ground and perform Tarpana on the dharba grass. When offering Tarpana to one's ancestors, one should do it with devotion. One should first state the relationship of the ancestor, the name, Gotra, and then the form of the ancestor. 295. Thus one should offer sesame and water, Tarpana, to one's ancestor in this order with profound devotion. He should be careful to see that the sesame seeds of the Tarpana do not fall upon any stone on the ground or in a wooden vessel. 296. The sesame seeds should not fall on the hairs of one's body, meaning the seeds should not fall upon any parts of one's body. If they do, then one must consider such sesame seeds as insects or bugs. Therefore, it is prohibited. There is no doubt in this. 297. One should never offer Tarpana with sesame seeds at home. One should go outside to a reservoir of water in order to perform Tarpana with sesame seeds. 298. There are three types of sesame seeds. White sesame seeds must be used for the Tarpana for the gods. Grey sesame seeds must be used for the Tarpana for the rishis, that is sages, and black sesame seeds must be used for the Tarpana for the Pitrus, that is ancestors. 299. During the worship and the Tarpana of the gods, a sacred thread must be worn in the form of Upavita, that is across the torso under the right arm and resting on the left shoulder. During the worship and Tarpana for the rishis, the sacred thread must be worn in the form of Nivita around the neck as a garland. During the worship of Tarpana for the ancestors, the sacred thread must be worn in the form of Prachinavita, that is across the torso under the left arm and residing on the right shoulder. 300. A Brahmin should offer 1 handful of water as Tarpana to the gods, 2 handfuls of water to the rishi, and 3 handfuls of water to his father. Note, 3 handfuls of waters are offered to one's father, paternal grandfather, paternal great-grandfather, and all the male ancestors of the persons offering the Tarpana. 301. He should offer only 1 handful of water to other women and 3 handfuls of water to his mother. He should offer 2 handfuls of water to his stepmothers as well as to the wife of his guru. Note, one should offer 3 handfuls of water to one's mother, paternal grandmother, and paternal great-grandmother. To all other women in the family, only 1 handful of water should be offered. 302. Akshata, colored rice, is the most appropriate when offering Tarpana to the gods and rishis. Black sesame seeds are most appropriate when offering Tarpana to one's ancestors. By doing so, one attains infinite merits. 303. Offering Tarpana with sesame seeds is prohibited on Fridays, Sundays, Tuesdays, and on the Nanda Tithi days. Also, offering Tarpana with sesame seeds is prohibited on the day when the star is Magha. Note 1. Nanda Tirtha refers to the 1st, 6th, and 11th days of the first lunar fortnight, bright half of the month. 2. There are 27 stars. Magha is the name of the 10th star in the series. 304. Offering Tarpana with sesame seeds is prohibited on the days of weddings, Upanayan, that is sacred thread ceremony, Chaula, that is first hair cutting of a boy, and other auspicious occasions. Offering Tarpana with sesame seeds is also prohibited on the day of the star under which the person was born. 305. On such days when sesame seeds are prohibited, Tarpana should be offered with plain water. On these days, one should wear a pavitra made of gold and another pavitra made of dharba grass. 306. Taking a bath without washing one's feet, offering Tarpana without sesame seeds, and offering Shraddha, that is, death ceremony, without offering Dakshina, money to the Brahmins, all these are in vain. They yield no fruits. 307. Therefore, barring the days on which the sesame seeds are prohibited, one must always use sesame seeds for Tarpana. On Deepavali, the festival of lights, one must offer Tarpana with sesame seeds to Lord Yama, the god of death. 308. Deepavali occurs on the 14th day of the dark half of the month of Ashwayuja, that is the 7th Hindu month, sometimes in October-November. On this day, a Brahmin should offer Tarpana to Lord Yama with a sacred thread in the Upavita or the Prachinavita form. 309. A Brahmin must recite every name of Lord Yama and offer Tarpana 3 times for every name of Lord Yama. I shall now tell you the different names of Lord Yama. 310 and 311. Salutations to Lord Yama: Dharmaraja, Mrityu, Antaka, Vaivashvata, Kala, Sarvabhuta Kshaya, Adambara, Dagna, Neela, Parameshti, Vrukodara, Chitra, and Chitragupta. 312. These are the different names of Lord Yama as told by Maharshi Parashara. One should address each name of Lord Yama and offer tarpana to him in the river and other bodies of water. 313. If a person thus offers tarpana to Lord Yama, all the sins of the person shall be destroyed. No disease shall ever bother him. He shall not be troubled by Shani, the planet Saturn. He shall also not have to fear accidental death. 314. One should offer tarpana to the great king, warrior and sage Bhishma on the 8th day of the first half of the month of Magha, the 11th Hindu month, sometimes in February-March. By doing so, all sins committed in 1 year shall be destroyed. 315. One should offer tarpana to Bhishma after completing the afternoon Sandhyavandana and offer argya to the sun god and after completing the Brahma Yagna as noted in the earlier verses. 316. Guru Siddha said, O Namadharaka, thus the Supreme Guru explained the Karma Yoga, prescribed code of conduct and rituals to the Brahmin. I have explained the same to you. 317. Saraswati, the son of Brahmin Gangadhara, has described here the prescribed code of conduct for Brahmins. The Supreme Guru shall bless the people who listens to this with devotion and grant fulfillment of all desires and wishes. Thus ends chapter 36 in the Karma Kanda in the dialogue between Guru Siddha and Namadharaka in the text known as the Legend of Narasimha Saraswati, authored by Gangadhara Saraswati in the Marathi language as Sri Guru Charitra and referred to as Sri Guru Samhita, composed in the Sanskrit language by His Holiness Sri Vasudevananda Saraswati. Om Tat Sat. Mantrahina, Kriyahina, Bhaktihina, Kshamapate. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.